first of all, congratulations on the film documentary. It's a very eye-opening one. How did
Thank you.
How did you create the story, and how did you like find the people who wanted to participate with this?
So I knew about the secret language about more than 15 years ago when I read a book called Snowflower and the Secret Fan, which is a novel based on the secret language, and it was published in the US. And I was really amazed, and also in a way felt embarrassed that as a woman from China that I don't even know the existence of the language. But I didn't know that it still existed. So the mystery kept me for, the next 7 or 8 years until I moved back to China actually. And that was the time that I got married and have a child. And as a girl born and raised in China, more or less during the communist time, I suddenly felt that after I became a mom, I feel very much betrayed by the society in a lot of ways, as how women's roles regress and roll back to function more, to serve for the family and all those things. A lot of my friends and they felt the same. And at the time, that was still when the Me Too was even a taboo to be talked about in China. So gender inequality is not something that you can really discuss publicly. But I think I felt that so emotionally and personally in a way that when my two producers, Meta Chen-Montikas and then Jane Chen, came to me and asked me to do a story about Nushu, the secret language. And I was like, well, if there's a way that I can connect that historical story to where we are as women in China, then I think that's a story that I'm interested to make. So I started to do some research, and then the first thing I found out that jumped into my mind is there is still a school to teach Nushu in this local village that they give free workshops to young girls to learn the language. And I was like, oh, so it's still alive. And I was so amazed by it. So I took the first trip over there, and I knew that I wanted to cast younger main characters who still in the work and then trying to revive the language. So I don't have a big casting pool because there's only 7 nationally certified Nushu practitioners, and actually one just recently died right before we launched the film. So there's only 6 left, and then one of my main characters, Hu Xing, is one of those 6. And I also know that I wanted to cast somebody not just from the rural areas, but also from metropolitan urban setting, because the challenges that women face in rural and urban in China is vastly different, but also in a way similar. So through digging that, we found Simu, the other character, who's based in Shanghai.
Oh wow, sounds very impressive. Very lot of work before even just starting to make this. John, did you already know about the language and about all the women trying to, create this new whole hidden language with each other?
Mentioned this secret language, and that certainly, got me excited. I didn't know what the rest of the story was, but just the idea of this ancient secret language was exciting to me. So yeah, I'd never heard of it.
And when were you did you came into the process? Were you already from the beginning, or just right at the end?
I think most. I'm trying to remember. I mean, certainly the process had been well underway. I mean, I think much of the shooting had been done, so Violet was fairly well along, and then we spent maybe 8 months to finish the film. So
Okay.
I should also add that John is actually the reason that I felt that the film is ready to be edited, because we were trying to work together to first put together a longer visual sample just to show people where the story is heading. And that was the time that during the pandemic, and it was the early days of the pandemic, and that really pushed me to go through all the footage, which I wasn't feeling that I was there yet. So I was looking through all the footage and then putting through materials, and then like, because I thought I was only halfway through in filming,
Okay.
but then like that process pushed me thinking like, actually I might have enough. So, yeah.
Yeah, so when filming, when following the people, were there any aspects or elements that you were still shocked by? Because like when I was watching the film, I was like, is this really the role of women in the society? I was really shocked, mostly because I don't live there, but I also thought it might just be a bit better now.
I think that China is a country that is so complex, maybe to the outsiders, in a way that women can be so strong and have the outward facing as they can achieve so much. But I think that's what amazed me, that when I moved back to China and I started to realize, I think part of it is, that's why I think the elements of the capitalism and commodification in the film is so important to me, because I think everything is tied towards of where China is right now. And to me, it's where the country was, in a way very capitalistic. I moved back in 2010. It was already like so dramatically changed since when I left. And in a way also that because the country is becoming so of that, there's also a big effort to push on the nationality identity, to revive culturally of what it means to be a Chinese. And in that big wave of revival is the revival of traditional culture, which woman in that role serves as a certain kind of, idea. And then that, along with all of those, was kind of ironically being revived too. And at the same time, how, the fact that Nushu, the secret language itself, is being co-opted in a way that people are trying to use Nushu to revive that traditional identity of woman, and also at the same time cashing out by co-opting that a lot of times by men who don't even understand the essence of what Nushu is. So that amazed me. And the first time I was there, I instantly feeling that there was something wrong. And also how I think that as a filmmaker who has a commitment to make films about China for many years, and I understand how important also not to scapegoat anybody or any elements, just to serve the purpose of telling narrative stories. And I think that anything can be blamed to the government very easily in this case. But at the same time, I think what still kind of affects us as women to figure out what our role is, what our identity is internally, not just what we face, has so much factors of the ingrained traditional culture that's still projected upon us, the societal expectations, the economic difference of how the gender income gap is and how that affects women, and where the political environment is. It's like everything. So I don't want it to kind of simplify it as like scapegoating as like the antagonist one thing. So like I think it's a very important to, I think both me and John, of trying to tell a complex story with all these nuanced and layered elements embedded in it, so that people can see kind of like a different perspective that they're not really used to, especially about women stories about China.
Okay. And John, when you get all the footage, how do you start selecting the images, the videos, and then how you create the documentary?
Well, yeah. So first, just watch everything, and thankfully, Violet spent a great deal of time translating everything. That's a very tedious part of the process. So I could watch and understand. And then, I think in this instance, just started treated the two main characters separately, sort of pulled the stuff that I thought was part of their story and where the scenes might be. And then there was plenty of beautiful imagery to pull from, but just strung out, a couple hours for each. Then, we both watched individually and then discussed and sort of narrowed things down, started cutting it away, then, started mixing them together. And so it's sort of a big lump of clay, and you just start pulling things away and shaping it that way. And I think one of the challenges for me was that it was such a quiet story that there were no there wasn't like a big event coming up that were they going to win the race, or were it was all sort of quiet, internal, and so finding the sort of those threads that revealed the sort of internal changes within our characters, but got all the threads, the language, their stories blended together. And then at the end, so we worked separately, apart. And then at the very end, for like 2.5 weeks, I flew to New York, and we sat together and hammered out the final sort of structure and worked that way.
Oh, was that the first time you guys met then, those 2 weeks?
Yes. Yeah.
How was that?
It was great. It was great. I mean, I think we just really meshed well. Violet definitely knows what she wants and is going for, but is a great collaborator. We bounce off ideas back and forth, and we just, I think, really worked well together. It was a lot of fun.
It was actually a very tiny room that it was the first time we walked into that room, and I actually rented from a friend of mine, and it was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna put my editor in a prison.
Had a bed and a desk. I slept and there. Yeah.
But we're also like work really intimately in a way that I think it's so amazing. I think it's like pandemic filmmaking, right? It's like we can't see each other, but somehow, even though the whole process that we just talk over the phone, we were able to build a lot of trust with each other. And I think that also shows in the collaboration, the creative process, and also in the final product.
Was the pandemic the hardest challenge you had to overcome, or was like filming and following the people even harder because of the rules in the country?
So I think that we actually filmed the majority before the pandemic, luckily. Okay. Even without my realization, because like I thought that I were only halfway through, but the pandemic really pushed me to look through all the footage, and I was even thinking of bringing in a third character before, and then I was like, okay, we have a lot of materials that is enough to build an arc for each of the characters. So yeah, and then also China opened up earlier than the rest of the world, so I have a co-director who's actually my cousin, and when I'm not there, she's the one who go out filming. So we took a few more trips, but at that point we were very clear about what are the hosts of the films that we wanted to film. So we did that, and it was it was not that much restrictions in terms of travel at the time, and we were able to pull it through. Also, I think that honestly, I felt like even John is in the same city as me, we will probably have worked this way too. John, don't you agree? It's just more efficient. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so when will this film be screened, or where will it go to around the world? Which film festivals will be able to see it?
So we're going to BFI, London Film Festival. That's our European premiere. And I think have booked another like almost 20 film festivals before after BFI in the US and also internationally. Big regional festival like Tallgrass, Heartland in the US.
So I have like one final question for both of you. What's next in like filmmaking terms or editing terms for you?
John is always really busy with a lot of projects.
There's a lot.
Okay.
Many things, all at once, it seems like.
Care to elaborate or explain?
Well, sometimes I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about other people's projects, right? So, but yeah, I'm helping finish up a couple docs. I start one from scratch in October. So it's always and working on demos for other people. So there's always multiple things going on.
And for you?
So I think that right now we're still in distribution phase for Hidden Letters. We're going to have a theatrical distribution in the US coming up soon. And also we're deep in the impact campaigns of the film. Right now we're focusing on the US. Our impact campaign is really to trying to use this film to elevate other women artists who are using their artwork to express their suppressed experiences and to express things that they otherwise would not dare to share of their gender experiences. And at the end, we will call out, we actually, our submission is opening today to call out all women to actually submit artworks to us that can express their own experiences. And at the end, we're gonna put together a virtual gallery, which has the AI component that people can use their phone and then tour around as a virtual gallery. Yeah. And then we will use that to tour around and then elevate all women in this and create our own kind of sisterhood as a legacy of the film and also of Nishu in honor of those women. I'm also in development of a series about dating coaches of different countries and really using their eyes and lens to see the gender dynamics and how that has changed and influenced by politics, by economics, by cultural, and also post-pandemic, and what are the global trends of gender dynamics and gender stigma still, and how is that going to change the way that we look at relationships? How is that going to be the way that we look at ourselves?
Oh, wow. Very busy and very impressive, but yeah, it looks amazing. Sounds amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Where are you based?
London.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hope you can come out to the screening.
Yeah, hopefully. I will go to the festival, so hopefully I can see the film there as well.
Yeah. They just announced there's a press screening or something. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks a lot for this interview, and yeah, good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Pleasure
So
to talk to you.
I'll send you that list of the festivals a bit later today if that works.
Okay, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
And do you think the interview will be published around October, or is that sort of TBD?
Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks again. And
Thank you.
这是我的村庄。从小，奶奶就告诉我，村里流传着一个只属于女人的秘密。几百年前，这里的女人被裹小脚。足不能出户。为了给彼此活下去的希望，他们创造了一种男人看不懂的文字，叫做女书。在女书里，他们用诗句和歌声 结交相互扶持一世的姐妹。
车腾小色我马月，我家地人落烈昂，我光姑娘我泽昂，还要帮过过我，说所有要高的我，也愿相陪命所雄。